Hi, I'm Ada from Serious Games with AI.
And I'm Rosha, also from Serious Games with AI.
So, what inspired me to return to Beaverworks this summer was really, I want to return because I remember doing the program back in 2023, and it really was a transformational experience where I got to work with, great, smart people with great ideas, and really learn from what they were doing. We learned about so many interesting topics that I hadn't really been exposed to in high school, and really got a better understanding of the cutting edge technologies that are being developed every minute right now. So overall, it was really an amazing experience, which is why I had to come back for more.
For me, I wanted to come back to Beaverworks this summer because I thought it'd be awesome to help students who are now in the same spot that I was last year and hopefully make their experience a little smoother and a little more fun.
When I was a student doing the program, my team tested the performance of reinforcement learning models. However, reinforcement learning models kind of did essentially what we asked them to. And so, doing the research project this year, I want to add a little bit of complexity with LLMs, large language models like ChatGPT, to see whether its context, in its training based off of massive amounts of data and trying to understand language, whether that would give it a morality and a moral score, um, to test whether the LLMs could deploy moral its morals within my game.
My game also had a moral point system built to it, but back then, me and my team were more focused on how different decisions would affect the player's score or outcome based on ethical choices rather than using an LLM.
Doing the research project this year with Beaverworks really showed me how cutting edge technologies, these concepts, are really accessible and there's so much more you can learn about them.
I can see myself doing research in the future because diving into a project like this really confirmed how much I enjoy the process of exploring new ideas and building on them. For Ada and I, follow-up research was definitely for Ada and I, follow-up research was definitely a great way to learn more and build on what each of us had started in our own Beaverworks experiences, even though we were in different years of the program. We would definitely encourage other students to give it some thought and consider pursuing it if it feels like a good fit for them.
So this year for my research project, what I did was I integrated this LLM player into the baseline game that we originally had as students participating in serious games. By integrating this LLM player, I could force the LLM player to decide in these moral dilemmas and try to affect its decision making by giving it different roles to see whether that giving it a different persona would make the LM actually form differently. What I was trying to do with this research project with the LLM player was to really try to figure out, the LLM player, it's trained on massive amounts of data, of human data, and I want to see whether this would affect its decision making, right? Did it develop a moral code from all of its training? Will it act similarly to humans then in that respect? And does it really have morals, right? If I change its role, if I tell it to be someone else, will it change its actions? Or does it have this stable default bias that it adheres to no matter what prompts it's given? So essentially, can it be manipulated? What I used for this project was Lava, which is a local LLM model that I was able to download onto my computer. It's multimodal, so it could take image and text prompts, and it has 3 billion parameters, so relatively small. So what I found, basically, you can see with this graph, is that it did actually act kind of differently, right? So on the bottom are the roles that I gave it to tell it to assume. And in the graph, you can see the different actions that it took and the action frequency, right? So you can see a gamer over here has a much higher skip rate than, say, the doctor or the dictator. So, by telling the LLM to assume a different persona, it is changing its actions. Here, you can also see the same thing. That see with these two graphs, by running a few ANOVA tests, you can tell that it does actually act significantly differently depending on the persona it's given, which suggests that it doesn't really have a default bias, right? It doesn't have moral code that's always sticking to no matter what it's told, unlike, something that maybe how a human might act. However, to do this project, I did face a few challenges. So firstly, the LM was surprisingly bad at identifying images, right? It only had 3 billion parameters, but not being able to identify the humanoid that's supposed to be making decisions about did put it at a disadvantage and made it harder to compare with human players, right? How human players would act because humans are relatively good at identifying images. Another thing was really prompt engineering, right? So you could ask the LLM different things. Even if I gave it the same role, right? Um, there could be other aspects of the prompt that affected its decision making that I didn't want, right? I wanted to isolate the independent variables. And so I really had to be consistent with how I was asking it questions and assigning it roles. And all of this really did make me learn some skills. For example, LM integration was a really big thing. Just integrating that local model and really being able to use it and mold it and put it in the environment that I wanted with the game. It was a really useful skill. Definitely being able to use LLMs past just like the chat window with ChatGPT was really helpful. And also the importance of prompt engineering. Your tone and the things you're really asking of the AI can really affect the stuff you get out, the outcomes. So, impact. I think this project really exemplified the importance of LLM prompting and shed some light on AI decision making specifically for LLMs. So the impact of this is I really learned the importance of LLM prompting and AI decision making. It shed a little bit of light on that. It really showed how this LLM was really susceptible to manipulability, right? And when you think of AI in the future, how will the AI be used by humans, right? This human AI interaction, that can be really important because maybe your users use your AI in ways that you don't want, right? We all already see that with ChatGPT and like academic dishonesty. Um, this shows that it's not like you can, at least at the stage where LMs are right now, you can't really depend on it to be the same all the time, right? It really is affected by the things you tell it. Looking ahead, this can definitely affect the way societies are run, the way that we're deciding to integrate AI within society, right? How are humans going to use this product? And as AI becomes more and more present in our lives, how are we using it? Are we using it ethically? I think those are really important things to think about. And the way that it can be manipulated by your end users, right? As engineers, as the people making the AI and the people making the regulations, it's really important to understand how AI is going to respond to humans and how humans will respond to AI. So if I had to choose, what I'm most proud of the work this summer, I would say definitely taking this abstract idea, LLMs and how they work and, their inner reasoning, right? It's a black box, right? Just trying to figure out more about AI. The fact that I was able to turn that into a solid project, I'm really proud of that. I really enjoyed the whole process and the way that it made me think. It was really using this rigorous analysis and turn this abstract idea into something tangible that you can investigate and really tinker around with. That's the part I think I was most proud of. So looking ahead, there's definitely ways I want to improve this project and expand on it, such as improving that identification for the LLM so that it can really experience the same conditions as humans. So I'd also like to compare models of different sizes of different parameters, right? More information, less information, how does that affect its manipulatability, whether it has a default bias or a moral code? I think these are all really interesting things to investigate that I hope to look forward to in the future for sure. So in the future, 5 to 10 years, I do see myself really going forward and investigating these questions, right? It's so interesting to me, the intersection between AI and human values and ethics, and really understanding how it all comes together, especially as AI becomes more and more present. I think these are all really interesting things that I hope to be investigating in 5 to 10 years, and hopefully even making tools for us to use um, as people because there's so much potential for AI to do so much good, and I really hope to be a part of that. And I'm really glad I was able to do Beaverworks this year because it really gave me a head start into this field. And it's all because of Beaverworks and the opportunities it gave me that I was able to do this. It was truly transformational.